questions, I believe, this afternoon, but we are going to leave that in Budget M, guys. We are going to turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brandon Taylor, and I'm chairman of the Lawrence County Republican Party.
And I'm Chris Jackson, chairman of the Lawrence County Democratic Party.
And we want to welcome you tonight. Chris and I, we've been having some conversations here. We're live on the radio. Of course, we're also streaming to Facebook on WLX, his Facebook page, and we're going to be taking questions on that Facebook page. The last 15 minutes of the show, we've got a screen here in the studio that will present your questions there. We ask you to keep it family, G-rated. If you don't like if you don't like the way we're dressed, we understand, but we want to keep it political if we
Who wouldn't like Tennessee orange? I mean,
Well,
take that for Saturday.
look. I was trying to make an exception for you on that. So
I thought my buddy Eddie Landry would appreciate this Tennessee orange today.
okay,
So,
you got and you do have the Tennessee orange on, and
absolutely.
so I know there's a lot of Tennessee fans
It's
there.
not every day that we beat Alabama, so I have to wear it.
I think you should gloat.
Yeah.
You should gloat. So if you're an Alabama fan, hang in there. We're praying for you.
I think they may. Yeah, I think the coach may need some prayers before the season's over.
Yeah,
He's
it's
going to be on the
looking-
hot seat
Yeah.
after Saban left. So
Yeah, I think so.
I think
I
he's
agree.
used to being perfect.
I agree. So getting into the show and starting off the conversation, first, I want to say I appreciate all the feedback that I've received, and I know you've received a lot of feedback from folks that have been appreciative of our time together here and doing a conversation.
Yeah.
We respect each other's opinion. And we're actually trying to, if we can, we'll find common ground. If we
Right.
can't, then we'll agree to disagree and move along. But I've had a lot of good feedback over that, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you taking time away from your family to do this, and
It's been fun.
yeah, and I want to thank my family for allowing me to do it because it can be a burden on the
Oh, yeah.
family to take on extra projects. So, and we're both volunteering. We don't get paid to do this. We do it because we love our community,
Yeah.
and we also love political talk. I mean, politics is the arena of ideas.
And we think there's a better way of doing things, than just putting your head in the sand and not talking to each other. And, hopefully we can inspire others to reach out to people they may not agree with all the time and have a dialogue to see if you do have more things in common.
You might not want to do that at Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah,
but,
just leave the politics out of Thanksgiving. You don't want any turkeys being hung.
Yeah, you might want to stick to football on that.
That's right.
That holiday. But yeah, so if folks can pick up maybe talking points from us. I
Yeah.
mean, you might be able to use some of what you hear at the water cooler at work. That was one of my thoughts as we started doing this. That hey, you know what? I'm going to be talking about things, and you're going to be talking about things. And we both agreed early on that your ability to say whatever you want to,
Yeah.
you have the freedom to do that, and
Right.
so do I. We're not trying to regulate each other, and to always set the tone. You and I, we don't really know each other outside of this radio station.
Yeah.
I've never had very many conversations with you, and we come in a few minutes before the show and we pull together some topics. That way, we've got content to keep the show flowing, but we really don't even talk about the topics until we get live on the air, and that's not easy.
Unscripted.
It's unscripted, 100% unscripted. So if we make a mess out of it, it's because it's Chris's fault. So
I'll take the blame.
there we go. There we go. I just want to do a reminder: get out the vote on Lawrenceburg Square on Monday, October 28th, 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. It's going to be there. Everyone's welcome to be there. Of course, we want to see people get out and vote this year. It's a big deal. It's your right. It's your freedom, and it's a great freedom we have in this country. So get out to vote. It's going to be on.
Big turnout so far.
That's right.
I saw on the Secretary of State's website, it looks like the first 3 or 4 days of early voting are just about on par with 2020 when there was a record turnout.
Mhm.
So,
And I haven't been to early vote yet. People can chastise me over that. It's just my work schedule's been kind of crazy. But I've heard that our election commission office here, early voting, there's been a crowd of people there. It's been a lot of cars in the parking lot. Some people. So I want to say I thank you all for going out and voting early. I think it's a great idea. And I think more Republicans are voting early than ever before. I think that's really taking place.
well, I just wanted to remind all the Republicans, if you don't vote early, make sure you vote on November 10th.
All right. That's, and we'll correct that real quick. That's November 5th. So, Well, you got some polling numbers. You talked about
Yeah.
this before. You pulled up some polls on
Yep.
the presidential election.
Well, as we've been saying for weeks, this is going to be a nail biter. We're down to the final 2 weeks just about, and it's about as close as you can get. They're saying this may be on the level of the year 2000 close. Nationally, it looks like Harris's lead is down to about 2.5 points. Uh, Again, that really doesn't mean anything because we go by the Electoral College. Georgia, it looks like it's a dead heat there. Michigan, it looks like Harris is ahead by 0.5 point. Pennsylvania, Trump's got about a 1/10 of a point lead. Wisconsin, Harris is up by 0.3 of a point. Nevada, it looks like Trump is barely ahead by 0.5%. And then North Carolina, which is one that the Republicans have had for some time, where Democrats are trying to make a play, looks like Trump's ahead by about a 1.5%. And Arizona, Trump's ahead by about a 1.5%.
So Nate Silver, I mean, he's one of the pollsters. A lot of people follow Nate Silver. You know, he had Harris up last week, and now we're seeing as of the end of the week, now he's put Trump 50.2 over Harris 49.5.
Yeah.
I still want to say that I believe Trump's coming in this with a tailwind. I think he's coming in strong. And you know, you want to peak at some point in time in your campaign, and you want to peak there at the very end. I feel like Harris had her peak early on,
Yeah.
and it started to slide down for too early in the campaign.
It's been a unique campaign. You know, she came into the campaign late. So, she kind of got her momentum right after she launched in, what was it, late July. And then, of course, she had the convention and everything. And that was kind of her high water mark. And the polls are looking like Trump has got some momentum. The betting markets are pointing toward Trump. And the polling is.
You got a bet on Trump?
No,
Okay.
not for Trump.
Okay.
Now, I would say if he continues to be the favorite in the betting markets, I would take the bet for Harris
Really?
because I think she has a pretty good shot of winning this thing. If she can maintain the blue wall states of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, she's a winner. Uh, the big state, I think, for both campaigns is going to be Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a big
I think she'll do well in Michigan and Wisconsin. They'll be close, but I think she'll win those. Pennsylvania is a unique state because you've got several urban areas that Democrats are
Mhm.
going to do really well in, and you've got the rest of the state, which is rural, where Donald Trump's going to run up some huge margins.
What about the assassination attempt? Do you think that's going to impact the vote in Pennsylvania?
I don't think. I think most people have forgotten about that. I think most people have forgotten just about everything up till last week. Americans have very short-term memories, and usually what's on the latest 24-hour news cycle is what we're focused on. And I just don't think that's going to play a factor. I don't think much of anything is going to play a factor unless it's front right now. And
I think it's a vote. I believe it's going to be a vote motivator for Republicans in the state. I'm
Yeah.
not sure it's going to be a vote motivator for the Democrats, but I do believe Republicans
Yeah.
in Pennsylvania will vote due to this.
they
election.
very well could,
Angry people vote.
sure, absolutely, it's a
You
motivator.
want to get somebody out to get them vote, make them mad. They'll go vote.
That's absolutely true. There's always a higher percentage of people that go vote that are voting against something than for
Mhm.
something. Just like you said, that's a bigger motivator than anything. It's a lot harder to explain things that are more positive, and it's easier to be against something. I mean, it's just human nature to be that way. So he's got that going for him. And being, not in office, it used to be said that it was an advantage of being an incumbent. I don't think it's much of an advantage anymore. I think most people are looking for outsiders. They're looking for people that are going to shake things up. And if you're an incumbent, whether it's at the local level, state, or federal, I think you've kind of got a target on your back uh, because people are wanting change. They may not know what that change is, but they're wanting something different.
Yeah, and I think the news cycle being continual all the time. For years, you watch the 6 o'clock news and 10 o'clock news when I
Yeah.
was growing up, and folks before that can remember there's only one news.
Oh, yeah.
And they watched the news one time, and there was an hour. Walter Cronkite was on,
Yeah.
and it was it. And you can have that news cycle continually
People
going, and it
respect
wears
the
out
news.
for incumbents. It wears them out.
They respected the media back then, because they thought that they were getting a fair shake. They were being told the truth. But I would venture to say less than half of the people in this country believe the media right now. for good reason. It's just more about conflict driving ratings and clicks than anything.
Well, for the media, and you and I have never talked about this, but you're very familiar with the Democratic Party, and of course, I'm not. I don't want to brag about myself on the Republican Party. I'm learning,
Yeah.
okay. But for what I see with the media and what they do, they're actually falling under a political action committee.
Oh, sure.
And so we have rules, as parties in counties, and of course the state parties as well. State parties are super PACs, and then the county parties are just a PAC of
Yeah.
political action committee. But it's like we fall under rules that if we were doing what the media is doing, we would be having to report everything, all the money that came in, advertisement would have to be reported down to the dollar.
Right.
And I mean, right now, you and I are up against it because October 24th or whatever, we've got to turn into the state.
Yeah.
I've got a letter from the state. I'm sure you did too. Well, we have to turn in everything we're taking in.
Yeah.
And I see the media and literally being political action committee. They're pushing for one candidate or the other.
Right.
They all have an angle,
Sure.
but yet they're not considered a political action committee. It's really it's frustrating for me to see that.
It's going to be interesting to see what Fox News does this election too, after their $787 million judgment that they had to pay last election because they flat out lied about these vote machines. So we'll see if they're a little bit more honest on
Well,
election night.
I'll say this: Fox News, I think, is gaining viewers. I don't think it's hurt their viewership at all.
May not have.
And I can say that because I'm not even subscribed to Fox News.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even have. I don't watch Fox News.
But I hope we can admit that it's not fair and balanced, and a lot of times they don't tell the truth. Just like MSNBC is not fair and balanced.
MSNBC is not. No.
They tilt Democrat. I would say if I had to pick a station that would probably be the most straight and narrow, it would be CNN. But I would say they would have a slight
I
Democrat.
was going to say NPR, and I was going to fall out of my chair.
Yeah,
So,
NPR, but I know you guys want to defund that like you do everything else. so.
well, it's definitely a political action committee. NPR. If you want to know what Democrats think, listen to NPR. They will tell you their view. And I
You,
listen
you guys think anything that's straightforward and fact based has a Democrat lean? I'll take that. I don't know what reality you guys play in.
I heard that.
We're fact based reality over here.
Well, you brought up Fox, and let's talk about Harris was on Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Brett Baer show. What did you think about? What was your opinion on that?
I thought it was good.
I think Brett did good.
Yeah, it was the first time all year I think I've turned it on Fox. So my remote really didn't want to go up that high.
They
But
didn't want to turn
I
up.
finally found it. But
Okay.
I thought Bear was tough. I think he harped on immigration a little too long, maybe. I think he was clear in what he was trying to do, trying to steer the conversation. But I think he did well overall, and I think she did well. I think she held her own. She went into the lion's den. That's what you want to see candidates do, and going to talk to audiences they don't normally talk to. And try to make the point to voters that may not ever hear that message. Because I would say Fox News viewers really don't watch Kamala Harris rallies or speeches that often, unless Fox carries them. But I thought it was good.
Well, I thought Brett was fair. And I will say this about her responses to his questions. After a few minutes, I started to think she sounded like it was a high school breakup, like Donald Trump had dumped her. And I thought it sounded like she was complaining about Donald Trump so much. I'm like, I think she's in love with him and he dumped her or something. It just sounded like that to me. It sounded,
Yeah.
I mean, everything. It's like, tell me what your policies are. Tell me what your ideas are. I think she had an opportunity to do that. I think the only problem I had with the entire thing, I'm glad she went on Fox. I think it was a Hail Mary pass because she stressed about the election. I don't think I don't think it helped her. I'll be honest. I don't think it hurt her. I don't think it did anything. I think it was a zero ground gain or loss. But she did complain about Donald Trump a lot. And candidates do that.
Yeah.
They complain about the other candidate a lot, but I didn't gain any of her policies. I would like to hear what she feels and what she wants to do and not what Donald Trump's done.
Well, you go on Fox News, and I will critique Brett Baer on one thing. He said something about Donald Trump and how she misstated that he was saying that there was enemies within the United States and that he was going to round them up after the election. He tried to make it sound like Trump didn't say that. He did. Trump did, in fact, say that. And then Baer had come back yesterday and say that he was wrong, that Trump did indeed say that. And, I think that goes at the heart of the argument against Donald Trump. Those comments, I mean, saying that there's an enemy within the United States, talking about people that disagree with him, Democrats, independents, ever who that is, that it's a bigger threat to the country than Russia and North Korea. What kind of president would say that?
Well,
I
I have
never,
to say that I agree. There are people who hate this country, and they absolutely hate this country, and they literally believe that we should burn it down and start all over.
I don't
And
about it.
I mean,
I'm sure there's out there, but we're talking about an
well, I've heard
extreme
people say that. I've heard liberals in Tennessee say that to me, and it and a lot of it. And I'm not even. We don't have to get into that, but we can have a show about it. But the critical race theory literally wants to destroy it all and rebuild it because everything was built fundamentally wrong. And I do think that that is dangerous for our country. I feel like everything is fundamentally built wrong and was fundamentally built with racism interlaced inside of it. And I don't
Yeah.
agree with that at all. It is a theory. It's called CRT, critical race theory.
Yeah.
But those people that ascribe to that, I will tell you, Chris, they hate this country. They hate America, and they have told me personally, I think it's time we burn it down and start all over.
Well,
And that's scary to
I
me.
disagree with that, and I think most Democrats do. There's a reason why you haven't seen the Biden administration adopt a lot of these fringe theories that are out there pushed by, some of these advocacy groups. I think those are far and few between. But at the end of the day, to hear a presidential candidate and a former president's call American citizens the enemy within is just un-American in my eyes. I couldn't imagine Ronald Reagan saying that or George W. Bush saying that. And, people say, I can't understand why Democrats have all this hysteria about Donald Trump. Well, he's making comments like these.
Well, I heard Joe Biden say, and I didn't like it when he said it, I'm about tired of these unvaccinated people. I heard Joe Biden say that.
Yeah.
And that does create hostility inside of our communities and inside of the political realm. It creates hostility for a president to say that. I don't want to hear a president come out at an angle and try to get Americans against other Americans.
Yeah.
Period. But I remember Joe Biden saying that. And so I clearly remember it because it ticked me off so bad.
Yeah.
And because number one, people have the right to believe how they want to believe. He is an elected official. He is a representative of people. And the point would be that they would represent people even if they weren't voted on. If that person didn't vote for them, they should be representing them.
Well, and to Joe Biden's credit, he said from day one he was a president for all Americans, whether you're from a red state and blue state, and he's acted that way, just like these storms in these red states. He has had the urgency just like he would in a blue state. Whereas Donald Trump, when there was fires in California a few years ago, he made the statement that maybe he should withhold the funding until they start being more appreciative of him and his administration.
Well, there's people in those states that would disagree with that, but we've already had that conversation. I want to ask you this question. Donald Trump, his campaign has spent $17 million. I could be wrong on the number, but $17 million running ads talking about Harris, or showing a video rather of Harris saying that when she was a district attorney, she'd actually fought for a inmate's right to have a transgender sexual reaffirming surgery to change their sexual orientation. And she pushed for that. There's an ad running on that. You can look it up. It's very easy to find it. I've looked it up a couple times because I wanted to make sure that I was seeing it. I want to make sure that I'm presenting it in the right way. Well, they spent $17 million on that. Harris has been a leader and has bragged about the fact that she is for the transgender surgeries in our prisons and jails for people incarcerated. I totally disagree with this premise.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that much about that particular bill that she was referencing. I know it was from several years ago. Whether she holds the same view now or not, we don't know. Again, I'll go back to saying what the official record is of this administration, the Democratic president. It's that, they have upheld the rights and protections for LGBTQ individuals, but they haven't made any references to sports. Individual states have, but the administration has not put that guidance.
I disagree with you, and I'll tell you why. And I've heard that argument that you're giving me from other people who vote Democrat. and I'm about to lay it out because I have followed this for years. Title IX has been a issue of contention in politics now for decades.
Yeah.
This is not anything new. But on day one, January 20th, 2021, Joe Biden issued an executive order addressing Title IX. So to sit there and say, Chris, that he has not done anything to move this ball either way. So not only did he didn't stop there. He issued a second executive order on March 8th, 2021. And I remember watching this, and I wanted to write this down because if people want to look it up, you can. I mean, you can. I guess if people want to fact check me, I think you should.
Yeah.
And go look it up for yourself. And maybe you don't know. I have no idea I'm not trying to say what you know and what you don't know. But on March 8, 2021, Joe Biden issued a second executive order. He is the first president to ever issue an executive order concerning Title IX since 1972. He's done that. Now, I've already told you in past, I'm not a fan of executive orders anyways. I don't
Yeah.
care which president's doing it. Stay out of that. But I for sure don't like this one. And on March 8th, he set it up for Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona to start an investigation to start looking into the facts of what every organization, associations that receive federal funding, what
Mhm.
their rules were with, I guess people who want to identify as something that's not their sexual gender.
Yeah.
However you identify and with your gender, what your identity is, then you could play in those sports. And so they started doing research on this. Cordona is a train wreck himself. He was asked by Congress, he was asking House representatives here in April of 2023, what is a woman? And he would not answer the question. And I don't understand why Democrats will not answer that question, but they won't. And
Well,
I don't understand that.
it's silly. I think most of us know what a woman is.
What would you answer that question? Is I've never asked a Democrat this question. So what is a woman?
I think it's someone that identifies as a woman and was born as a woman. That's my interpretation of it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure there may be some disagreements among some of my Democratic friends. And, I have no problem. I'm not going to begrudge anybody that wants to identify as a woman that was born a man. That's fine. I think their rights should be protected in this country. But as far as the sports goes, I think we need to have biological rules. If you're a man, born a man, you should compete as a man. If you're a woman, born a woman, you should compete as a woman. That's the way I look at it. And I think that's the way most Americans and probably most Democrats do. I think this is an issue that has gone too far to the left for most people. And it's one of these wedge issues that Donald Trump and Republicans are beating Democrats over the head with, especially in these rural areas, and it's killing us. And I think Democrats need to take a hard look at it. I think, again, we need to be fair and, protect everybody, whether they're gay, straight, lesbian, anything. Discrimination's wrong in any form.
True.
But we can go too far in trying to redefine sports competitions and things like that.
Well, the Biden administration, and this is one thing that I really hold against the Biden administration. I oppose everything that he's done with Title IX, and he's in the wrong, in my opinion. I'm going to be, and I think in a lot of people's opinion, 72% of Americans polling on this do not want to see boys competing against girls in sports. This
Right.
is not a good plan. Now, I feel like the media, and I'll throw them all in there. I think they should be talking about this every day, because of the fact. I mean, I don't know how much you keep up. You may not be following Title IX, but the rules that they set in place. So they came back in April 2024, and Cordona came back, who is their Secretary of Education. They came in and they changed the term from sex, meaning male or female, to include what's your sexual identity. They changed the rules.
Yeah.
Literally. This is fact. Just go look this up. Those rules were set to go in effect on August 1st of 2024. Do you know why they didn't? Our Attorney General, Anthony Skrmetti, filed a lawsuit. Tennessee. I'm bragging on Tennessee. You got the UT Orange on. I'm going to brag on Tennessee. They filed a lawsuit and sued the Biden administration. If they hadn't have done that, Chris, this season in Lawrence County, you could have had boys playing on girls' teams in Lawrence County, Tennessee. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
And the Democrats are I wish it wasn't this way. I don't even feel like it's a political issue. Why are we having this conversation?
Yeah.
Politics is building roads and putting in dumps and figuring out, what
Uh,
you're going to do,
yeah.
things like that.
I'm not the most, I guess, eloquent person to be talking about these kind of issues because I'm just not that well versed in them. But like I said, where I'm at, if you're born a man, you should compete as a man. If you want to transition to a woman, you're more than free to do that in this country. That's your right, and it should be protected. Nobody should be discriminated against. But as far as the sports goes, I'm just at a place right now, unless somebody can tell me anything different, that you should compete in the sport or the gender you were born with.
I agree. 26 states jumped on with Tennessee. There's a lawsuit right now. And if Harris gets elected, I'm telling you what's fixing to happen. 2 executive orders have already happened. I follow this. This is going to be this is a turning point in the election. I don't think it's as high a priority for people that are going to vote as what it should be, in my opinion. I think it should be number one. But I don't think they realize how it's going to impact them. I think once it happens and this goes into effect, and it would have already went into effect on August 1st, and some states are already ascribing to this, but 26 states are fighting this in court.
Yeah.
Tennessee led it. 26 other states jumped in back behind them. And so it actually got struck down by a federal judge. And I'd like to read Anthony Skermetti's statement. I've got it here. And this is on the Tennessee.gov website. So this is not anything that I'm reading from news media. I mean, I'll show it to you. You can see it right there. This is Tennessee website. Yeah, and he did a press release. This is Jonathan Skermetti, and he released this on Monday, June 17th, 2024. And it's just a quick paragraph. But they actually had an injunction placed in by a federal judge to stop this from happening. And so Skermetti wrote, "This is a big win for the Constitution and the people of Tennessee. We fought hard to protect our constitutional separation of powers, which ensures that the people go through their elected representatives are the only authority that can make new laws," which I agree. Okay, I'm sick of executive orders. If the rule we stopped had been allowed to go into effect on August 1st as scheduled, Tennessee schools and universities would have to let boys into girls' locker rooms and other private spaces. This is a big deal, Chris. Listen to this, if it would have went in effect, our schools would have to punish teachers and students who declined to use someone's preferred pronouns. These are pronouns, okay? These are profound changes that to the law of the American people never agreed to. This rule was a huge overreach by federal bureaucrats, and the court was right to stop it. This is on the Tennessee.gov website at your Attorney General, Jonathan Skermetti, on June 17th, 2024. These rules will be in effect. If Harris is if she is elected, we're going to see boys using girls' locker rooms.
I don't believe that. I mean, I just don't think it'll go that
How
far.
could you look at a executive order and say you don't believe that?
Because I think Vice President Harris is a level-headed person, and I think she's seen that the Democratic Party has went too far in a lot of these cases. If you look at her stances from 2019 on a lot of issues, she's not for those anymore. I think the party did go too far during the Donald Trump administration when we were out of power, whether it was on immigration, it was on a lot of these cultural issues, and we can see the ramifications of it, not only electorally, but just it's bad policy, a lot of it. So I think there's going to be moderation. I think people that think Kamala Harris is some raging liberal just aren't looking at the whole picture. I think she's going to be a lot more moderate on issues, and I think she'll change a lot of minds once she gets in there.
Chris, I just read you a statement from a Tennessee Attorney General. From a federal judge, court injunction stopping boys from using girls' bathrooms. I have a real fundamental issue with boys using girls' bathrooms.
Well, I do too.
They even on this, and people can go look it up. They were changed the rules. They eliminated a hearing on this to where if a girl were to complain because a boy that identified as a female walked into the bathroom, he would be held accountable as complaining that he was using her bathroom. This is your president.
Yeah.
This is your president. Joe Biden put these. You can't argue with what he did, Chris.
I don't think Joe Biden is focused
You
on
went to the
these
White House to
issues.
see this man.
I've been several times to see him, but
Well,
I don't think this is something that he stays up every night thinking about.
2 executive orders.
Well, I mean, there's been thousands of executive orders, and a lot of them were on day
If
one.
they hadn't have fought it in court, it would be taking place in Lawrence County right now. We'll start on August 1st.
Well,
That's just
I
facts.
think at the end of the day, the bigger issue in this election will be Donald Trump and his justices overturning Roe v. Wade. I don't think Title IX and those issues are going to play near as big a factor as Roe v. Wade. Especially, there was news today that came out that post Dobbs, which was the decision that overturned Roe v. Wade, since then, the infant mortality rate in this country has increased significantly. And it's been largely driven by the restrictive abortion laws from overturning Roe v. Wade. In fact, in particular, Texas has experienced a 13% increase in infant mortality rate between 2021 and 22 after they enacted their restrictive abortion ban. And it's caused all other legal and health implications. The broader public health consequences of abortion bans, including increased trauma for families who are forced to carry non-viable pregnancies to term. This is what we've talked about for several weeks. At least I have. The consequences of Roe v. Wade. Uh, Again, I don't think anybody loves abortion. I don't think anybody desires abortion. But at the end of the day, it's a reality of life that there's certain circumstances where women need to have the right to an abortion afforded to them. And post Dobbs, we have governors and state legislatures making the decision for a woman when it should be between her God, and her doctor. And we're seeing the real consequences of that now. Child mortality is going up. Women's lives are in danger. It's bad policy all the way around in my eyes.
I don't know how child mortality could go up whenever those children would have been aborted anyway and they would have died at Roe v. Wade either way.
Well, a lot
I
of
mean, it's not going, you didn't bump up the number, you brought it down
well,
because every abortion was killing the unborn. So, I mean, I just can't go with you on that one.
Well,
I got
I-
to agree to disagree.
we will, but I think that's going to be a big determiner in this race. As I've said to you before, this is the first generation of women in this country that are going to be born with fewer rights than their mothers and grandmothers have.
Those baby girls, they got rights too. And those unborn little girls, when does an unborn little girl start getting women's rights? I say at conception.
I say that there needs to be options for women in this country, especially in the case of rape, incest, and the health of the mother. I think Donald Trump has said as much.
No, Donald Trump has said that.
So, I mean, my position is not as anywhere extreme as his is. Apparently, I know when he was a Democrat a few years ago, he was for abortion all the way to just about
Right.
to birth.
That's right.
So, there is room for agreement on this issue. Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, there was consistent policy. Abortion should be safe, legal, and rare, and there should be exclusions for rape, incest, and health of the mother. Those no longer apply in this country, thanks to Donald Trump and the justices, and especially in states like Tennessee, Texas, and Florida, where these governors think they know better than women.
Well, I guess we'll have to leave that to the states to decide at this point. I am glad it's back to the states. And I want to say thank you to the Tennessee legislature. The trigger laws that went into effect, I agree with them 100%. I mean, we are definitely pro-life in the state of Tennessee, and I'm glad to say I live here. I'm glad to say I live in a pro-life state.
Well, I think everybody should strive to be pro-life, not only before the child's born, but afterwards. But Republicans, it seems, once a child's born, they really don't care about it as much. You want to cut welfare programs that benefit the needy and children. You want to cut Head Start programs that mostly benefit underserved children. So, I think we all can and we should strive to be pro-life. But I just wish Republicans would focus on a little bit more after they're born than just before they're born.
But you know just as well as I do, those are talking points. You can't cut those programs because you know just as well as a state comptroller, when it comes down to local level, let's be honest, Chris.
But why
you
do
can't-
Republicans
you
run
can't-
on it?
But you
If
can't.
they can't,
You can't do it. It's
then
impossible.
why do they run on it?
They say we don't need to spend more; we need to spend better. But to say that they want to cut, that's just not even a true statement on anybody. If anybody wants to say they're going to cut it, they're not. And
I
you
know-
know they can't.
I know
because
most of the
legislators.
legislators in Tennessee would want to do away with pre-K and Head Start if they could. But Republicans just don't believe in it.
That might be true, but I'll say I've never heard one of our state representatives or state senators say that. They may have said it,
Look it up.
but I haven't heard any of them say it.
There should be universal pre-K in this country, and the reason there's not is because of Republican legislators who oppose giving taxpayer money for that early education. That's just a fact. I mean, Democrats are for it, have been. Republicans are against it. So,
Um, Elon Musk
oh boy,
is giving away $1 million every day.
have you signed his petition yet?
I think I may get $1 million out of it. If I do, I'm gonna buy you an Alabama jacket.
Oh my God.
I'm not an Alabama fan. I'm just kidding. I
Eh,
need people to fall out on the floor. I don't even care about college football.
Well, you could double. I mean, their mascots are Republican. Republicans are mascots.
That's
are
true.
Repu-
I didn't even think about that.
Democrats, so,
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, I may win the $1 million giveaway. What do you think?
I think he's borderline on causing a big stink.
I've not tried to win the $1 million.
Yeah.
I'm just joking. Let me be clear, but I have seen, Governor Walz come out and was really raking Elon over the coals for doing this.
It's really bizarre. I've never seen a billionaire, anybody for that fact, try to basically buy votes openly. If you sign this petition saying that you're going to vote for Donald Trump, blah, 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 we're going to enter you into a contest to win $1 million. You can't buy votes in this country. So it's going to be interesting to see what the FEC does and whether Merrick Garland gets off his rear and does something these final few days before the election.
So you think he'll be charged?
No. I think Merrick Garland is slow as a sloth when it comes to doing anything. And, we're so close to the election that he would think the ramifications of doing anything would be interfering in an election, which it probably would. But
Well, yeah, I agree, and I wish he would. I
know
wish
you
Merrick
got-
Garland would come out with the Roman candles blazing, saying, "I'm going to take Elon Musk down." I think it would be a motivator.
Oh, it
for
would.
conservatives.
It would, but it definitely didn't help Hillary back in 16 when James Comey came out about a week before the
No,
election.
No, she was very upset about that.
That was
She was very upset.
it's
about
fun. It's funny how Republicans, pick and choose what they like. I know you guys really hated when that dropped on Hillary a few days.
I was
before
actually
the-
surprised.
You wasn't the only one.
I was actually surprised, and
Imagine Hillary surprised.
we didn't have as much early voting, I don't think, in those days, and so the October surprise was always, they
Yeah.
would always say, "What's the October surprise?"
Yeah.
And I used to love to listen to Rush Limbaugh, and he would always be like, "Okay, watch for the October surprise; it's coming." And when that happened, I was like, "Well, I think everyone was surprised on that one."
I think Comey handed the election to her. I think it was so close that probably made the minds up for a lot of independent people because they were already skeptical about her. They had questions because of her handling of classified information, things of that nature. So I think that was just the nail in the coffin that probably did it for a lot of people.
Oh, I definitely think it hurt her.
Yeah.
It hurt her chances. And because Trump was trailing in the polls all the way up
Yeah.
until the election, and then he won.
Yeah.
So it was that was a very unusual election cycle during that
gonna
time. But
be-
she wore out the Russian dossier. I mean, it was just.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, man. That was just. Come on, that was tired and worn out by the time we got to the election.
It was.
And then when that dropped and Comey come out, but I had actually saw some news reports where Hillary was having a fit and behind closed doors over Comey coming out.
Well, I would be too. I mean, that was really unprecedented for the Department of Justice to do that. It really went against their rules of engaging in those kind of cases before an election.
So I think if Merrick Garland came out and locked up Elon, it might Musk might be able to pull some more votes in for Trump. He's all campaigning for him.
Why are all
He's out
these
there-
billionaires for Trump? It's like they expect something in return. Maybe another large tax cut, huh?
Think about this. Think about this. He is a manufacturer, and I don't know. I don't own an electric car, so maybe I don't have the right to even speak about it. But I'll say what I see going up and down the road. Tesla is, when I think electric car, Tesla is the first thing that comes to the forefront
Yeah.
of my mind. I don't think Nissan Leaf.
Yeah.
I don't think, whatever Honda has. I just don't think these other cars. I know they're out there. I don't think Chevrolet Volt. I just don't think about those. I think Tesla, and Musk has really pushed back on a Biden administration for trying to go all electric in his country.
Yeah.
He's like, this is a bad plan. Yeah. You got to look at that and go, if he's really trying to line his own pockets, Chris, it looked like he would be in there pushing for, hey, I want to go all electric.
Right.
I mean, do you see that argument?
Yeah, but Musk has really done 180 on his political views over the last few years, and he's gotten into deep conspiracy theories and things like that, especially since he's bought Twitter. And I kind of question his judgment on a lot of things. I mean, he's no doubt a brilliant guy, but some of the things he says and shares it's out there. So I don't know what his reasonings is on this, but he's definitely all in for Trump, no doubt about that.
He's all in for Trump, no doubt. I, I thought it was pretty crazy watching him come out and speak on at the rallies, and he's going around traveling now, going to battleground states, and he's going to be holding rallies for himself. I'll say, I could see Musk eventually going for some type of
Cabinet position.
political. I mean, and maybe even running for some kind of office. What about Musk president?
Well, he's
2028.
foreign born. He's from South America, so I
That's true. I forgot about that.
know you guys are concerned about birth certificates, so that would probably
That would eliminate him.
that absolutely would. But Donald Trump this weekend talking about Arnold Palmer.
I haven't
Where
seen
did that
much
come
about it,
from?
but that made me laugh out loud.
I showed you the video earlier, and it was
You did show me that video. I hadn't seen it, but I've been busy. I mean, I hadn't had time to follow. what's going
If
on.
everybody missed what we're talking about this weekend when he was in Pennsylvania, he kicked off a rally and somehow deviated from the script and ended up talking about Arnold Palmer's.
No, he was way off script.
Talked about how would you even put that? Endowed Arnold Palmer, who's been dead for 8 years, was when he was a professional golfer. I mean, what's wrong with this guy?
I would say I think only Donald Trump could get away with that.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Why does he get away with
you
it?
don't even know what context that he was talking about. I have no
It
idea.
seems like he's
I haven't-
getting, the longer the campaign goes, the stranger he's getting and the more off topic he's getting. I mean, maybe he should take one of those cognitive tests that he's always talking about.
Well, Biden already failed his. That's why y'all pulled him off the ballot. So
Well, Trump says he took one, but he's never released the results. He hasn't released his taxes and he hasn't released his health records. What's he hiding?
I don't know.
Kamala Harris released her taxes, released her physical from her doctor. She got a clean bill of health. She's 59 years old. Trump's going to be 80. He'll be the oldest
She's
president.
happy because she laughs a lot.
Absolutely. We're bringing joy back.
She's bringing joy back.
But I mean, Donald Trump has to be the least transparent candidate for president that we've ever had, and it doesn't seem like you guys care.
I'm going to tell you. I've told you last week, and I'd really, I said this last week, Chris, and I told someone I said I think when I said this, I think Chris was really surprised. I said it. We don't vote off of personality; we vote off policy. And I really thought you were kind of caught off guard when I said that because I'm just being honest. I just being as truthful as I possibly can. If I'm going to vote for president, I'm going to look at their policies
Yeah.
and their personalities. Now, I don't want someone that's being just far out there. And I know people think Donald Trump is. Okay, I get that, but I want to see their policies first and foremost. That's what's going to be imperative. And I don't agree with Harris's policies. I don't agree with Biden's policies. Just like Title IX, putting boys in girls' locker rooms, Biden's totally wrong on that, and Harris is wrong on that. Trump's against that. They're polar opposites on this. So if he comes in and says something, he makes a joke about Arnold Palmer, he's going to get by with that
Yeah.
because they look at the policies of the left, and the Democratic Party's gone so far to the left, I cannot identify with them at all. I can identify more with a guy that's getting up here telling a joke. And I guess if he's trying to be funny, I think he was trying to be funny. I hope he was trying to be funny. But whatever he's saying, I can identify more with his policies than I can Harris.
I was surprised with last week with the insinuation that conservative Christians have more in common with Donald Trump than just a regular Democrat. As I said last week, I can remember in the 90s and early 2000s when Republicans were part of the Christian majority. George W. Bush, that was his big backers, were the Christian conservatives. And Mitt Romney, the same way. John McCain, you guys backed him all the way. That was his biggest base. And now you guys have got a guy that's been found guilty on 34 felony charges, been adjudicated civilly for rape. He has been, declared bankruptcy 6 times. He's on tape bragging about assaulting women, and you guys don't care about it. I just don't get that. That's what surprises me the most.
I can answer it for you. I can give you a straight answer. Look you straight in the face and live on radio and internet and
Help me.
You talk about the moral majority. You mentioned Christians. One of the most insulting things that a president has done to me is Barack Obama lighting up the White House as a rainbow. Whenever the Democratic Party has preached for years separation of church and state, the church and state separation was taken totally out of context. It was not even in any of our founding documents. It's in a letter. It was written to the Baptist Association by, uh, you know, President Jefferson. It's not even in a founding document, but they preached that. But then the Democratic Party has pushed their way into marriage, which has never been in any culture, in any religion, in any country, a part of what the state can declare. They cannot declare what marriage is and what is not. It is a religious ceremony in all cultures. Matrimony comes from the word that is a Latin word, where we get the same word maternal, and that's where a mother changes from being a woman into more than just a woman. She becomes a mother and a wife. That's what matrimony means, and it's holy matrimony. And you have this, and so we've watched the Democratic Party go so far to the left that their policies are so extreme we can't stomach it. And just watch Gretchen Whitmer, governor of Michigan, you know, doing mocking Catholics, mocking Christians on internet live, thinking it's funny that she's taking the Holy Sacrament and doing communion. And what an insult to Christians everywhere. And for me, Chris, I'm just going, why would she
You
do
don't
that?
think Donald Trump's an insult to Christianity when he acts like he is some upstanding citizen and he holds a Bible in front of the church? And the guy's probably, I mean, I've never known him being a religious person, and that's fine. But I think he's fooled a lot of people.
I agree with you that I don't think he's been a religious person. But there again, I feel like you're going back to the personality and not the policies.
What's
I'm
far
looking
behind?
at a guy's policies. If he gets elected, just like he did in 2016, he flipped all the Obama administration's Title IX rules. Go back and look at it. I mean, it's right there for you to see. He went back and they started flipping them. Betsy DeVos, she started flipping those over from 2011, 2012. And like I said, this is a big deal to me. I followed it, and if you haven't looked it up, I hope you do. I really want to even send you information so you can.
It's not personality with me. It's just that the guy has totally disqualified himself to be president of the United States. I mean, what could the guy do for you to say it's too much? I can't support him. He's mishandled classified documents, been charged with that. Give them back once they were asked for. He's been found guilty of business fraud. He's filed bankruptcy 6 times. His company was shut down in New York for falsifying business records. He's been found civilly liable for rape. I mean, what can he do for you to say that's just a bridge to? He incited an insurrection. He denied that the election was fair and almost prevented the peaceful transfer of power. What could he do at this point?
I really, it's a good question you ask. I think it
He's
shows.
a felon.
I think it shows the extremity of how Christians view the Democratic Party.
He's a felon.
That they would vote for. Listen, when Donald Trump first started running,
You know, felons can't even work at McDonald's.
He worked at McDonald's. Did you not see?
I saw that. I saw that stunt.
But here's the thing.
I wish he would go
About
work
this.
there.
I really want to give you a solid, honest answer. When I see the Democratic Party, I don't see anything that supports any of my values. That doesn't even give me room for my values. I don't think.
Donald Trump doesn't represent your values.
No, but his policies will help. It do support my values. With him overturning the Obama things they institute with Title IX. I mean, we're fighting this thing, Chris, right now with Title IX, boys going to girls' bathrooms, and I know that probably 90% of people live in this county, and I would say probably 90% of Democrats in this county do not approve of a girl going in their daughter or their granddaughter's locker room in a bathroom with them. And the Biden administration has single-handedly force-fed this through executive orders. There's no way to blindside and look around it. So I see a guy like Donald Trump, and I'm like, you know what? The guy is a loose cannon when he's out there. You know what? Who knows what he's going to say? Most Republicans are like, you know what? Wish he'd just shut up. Wish he wouldn't talk so much. But when I look at his policies, what do I see? Before he was elected in 2016, he laid out who his Supreme Court justice picks would be, and he did it. And you know what happened for Well, it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe that a guy like Donald Trump had Roe versus Wade. He probably, as one person, single-handedly had more impact on overturning abortion
Absolutely.
in the United
I
States.
give him credit for that.
And I mean, and so you look at the Christians, you're going, how can you vote for this guy? We're like, have you seen his policies? I mean, like, who would have thought? And me, I'm telling you, 2015 when he come out, I thought, oh no, he's running. I never liked Donald Trump. I never watched The Apprentice. I never watched him on wrestling, and I never followed any of that. And I seen him come out, and I'm like, this guy he's not going to support any of my values. That's what I thought. But you have a guy like Ronald Reagan didn't get it done. You have guys that come out. George Bush ran on how he was a Christian conservative, couldn't get it done. Donald Trump got Roe versus Wade overturned for Christians in this country. Fight that's been going on for decades. Who would have seen that coming?
So if Charles Manson had good policies, y'all would back him for
Well,
president.
Charles Manson was a mass murderer. I mean,
Donald Trump is not a mass murderer, but he is a felon now.
well, I mean, we got to keep it in relative. Let's keep it relative.
Well, Donald Trump
Manson and
Donald
Trump's
Trump
not a
said
good
that
comparison.
he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and you guys wouldn't care.
Well, that's Donald Trump's opinion. I mean, he's not going to try it.
I just think he has got you guys in a place where it doesn't matter what he does, it's going to be okay.
If I vote for Harris, Chris, if I vote for Harris, she's going to put boys in girls' locker rooms. Can't go there. They crossed the line. I can't believe you can vote for it. I have a daughter. And if I knew that a boy went into a locker room with my daughter, I would have a come apart. As any red-blooded American should.
You guys always use these scare tactics. The Democrats are going to take away your guns. They're going to, now they're going to put boys in girls' bathroom, and it never happens. It's a scare tactic. It never happened. I'm still waiting for our guns to be taken away. Never happened. That's been a talking point.
Well, if it hadn't been fighting it already would have happened. But the fight is on.
It is.
Tennessee has stood up, and Tennessee is a very conservative state. I encourage our legislators and say, look, don't look at what other states are doing. Be the leader. Well, we have led in conservative ideas. We have absolutely done it. I think Tennessee is the greatest state to live in the United States. I think Lawrence County is the greatest place to live in Tennessee. If I didn't think it was, I'd move somewhere else. That's why I chose to be here.
Yeah.
I mean, you were born here, and that's good, and you chose not to leave.
Right.
And for good reason. But I chose to come here because I love this community and I like the people here, and we have to protect it. But I think it's very telling, and I think the Democrats, I think even you sitting right here next to me, I think you would have to look at me if you followed me home, if you watched my life and you knew how passionate I was about family and my belief, to sit here and look and say, you know what, these guys are going to vote for Donald Trump. He's been convicted of a felony. He's radical. His life, his whole history's been a train wreck. Religious speaking, he even was a Democrat at one point.
Yeah.
We're looking at him going, he's willing to stand up. And if he gets elected, the first thing he's going to do is he's going to overturn these radical left policies of Joe Biden in changing Title IX. This is a fact. I hope you go look this up. I challenge you before the next radio
You're
show.
worried
Go
about
look
him
it up.
overturning that. I was more worried about him overturning the election. That's a disqualifier for me. If you're a presidential candidate and lose and you can't admit that you lost and try to stop the peaceful transfer of power, I don't care what you run.
Democrats
Disqualified.
pulled their candidate down that was fairly elected.
You know how I
Joe
feel about
Biden.
that.
But I'm just saying, you can't argue one point without looking at the other. I mean, you got to be fair-handed with it. And you guys voted. Millions of people went to the polls and voted for Joe Biden. It was a total waste of their time. It was an insult to the voters on that point. And I think it took the wind out of the sails for Harris. I think this is a political experiment that's going on. I think that Donald Trump, him running as a president, I think that was a political experiment. I'm not saying that one was not.
I think we're in a whole new era of presidential politics.
I do too.
Nothing that you see anymore surprises you.
You know what? If Harris came out and said, you know what, I'm for, if I'm elected, I will pull down this Biden administration executive order on Title IX. I will flip this back around. I'm going to tell you, there's Christians that would come out swinging for her.
Yeah.
She's not doing it, and she's not supporting their policies and their values. My problem with Christians is, why don't they go vote? Why don't they get out and go to the polls? And that bothers me, that that Christians sit home and they won't go out and vote when they watch these things happen. There'll be people in this county that will complain. The boys use girls' bathrooms, but yet probably won't even be registered voters.
Well, I think, as I said, I think you're going to see a lot more Republicans come out on election day for Kamala Harris. Liz Cheney's came out. You know, you've had several high-ranking people that work for Donald Trump that's came out. Uh, you had General Milley come out. You had the former Secretary of Defense come out saying that Donald Trump's unfit. So you're going to have a lot of Republicans come out against Donald Trump on election day. They may not say it right now publicly, but I think that may be the deciding factor on November 5th. If he can get a sizable majority of those people against him, he's beat. So I think right now it could go either way, but it's going to come down to the turnout.
I appreciate the conversation. I know we're about to run out of
Yes,
time.
sir.
Appreciate you volunteering and coming in, and thank you for WDXC and WLX. And for those listeners and people watching, God bless you. God bless America.
Absolutely. Be back next week.
That's right.
I don't think we were streaming on WLX.
Way to take questions.
I think it went live on WLX.
It was on YouTube.
Oh, was it? Questions? We only had that one comment right there.
My wife put Bring Joy Back